history in the making.
Scary, don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple.
Traders may want to put on their hard hats. That's because US markets picked up where Japan left off, and the global stock market intensifies as the sell-off continues.
Breaking news, markets about to open. I think they should be opening actually now, as after a global sell-off, European and Asian markets plummeting around the world. And we've been looking at futures, and they were more than 1,000 points down.
The Japanese market has had its biggest one-day slump in yen terms ever, down more than 12%. The Australian market is down close to 4%. US futures are looking pretty bleak too.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Monday, Gray Monday, not quite a Black Monday yet. August 5th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. Please remember and repeat this mantra over and over again. We're going to need it for what is coming and transpiring. So before we go into any of the news, let's first take a deep breath. Let's first welcome everybody on X, Rumble, and YouTube. Thank you in the live chat. I see Rock is here. I see Dub J is here. Let me see who else. MC is here. Good to see you. Annie, welcome. Andrew, Joanna, Tony, good to see you, my friend. Rob is here from Michigan. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Voluntary De-Occultist, Gerda, Andrew, of course, Christine is in the live chat. I hope Ronnie is here today. Stuart, Girl Sees Dragons, good to see you, my friends. Welcome, Claudio, and everybody else. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. Deep breaths. Nobody panic, and I know most of you won't. None of this is unexpected, what is transpiring today. As a matter of fact, you know, those who've been watching, we've called it, but we have to keep the perspective, because with every page that they turn, with every new attack against the people, if you will, and with every new chapter that they start, it will get harder to stay emotionally calm, detached, not react to each situation. So what is happening is, and I don't like to look at the symptoms. So I get that people talk about the yen currency trades and what has happened in Japan, a big sell-off, interest rates going down. And so there are, of course, market factors that will not cause, but that will contribute to a much, much bigger program. So I'm not really interested in figuring out what the exact thing is that has pushed this particular domino. We have to understand that the bigger picture, this was planned a long time ago. The market was set up in a way so that you can push these dominoes. There's no stability. There are no safeguards in these markets anymore. There are financial instruments that most people don't even know about, don't understand. They're complex, interconnected, worldwide. And so to push something and to create a market effect like we're seeing it today is actually absolutely not hard to do. Now, what is interesting is that a lot of the big investment apps are not accessible to people. Fidelity, Schwab, you name it, they've been down all morning, which is, of course, this is literally a soft coup against the small investors, because this allows for the institutional, the big investors to make their moves. Otherwise, this would be a full blown out Black Monday. So this is literally closing the stock market off to the common people, or at least hindering them, making it more difficult for them to access their money and to do their moves, just like the big investors are doing, and favoring the big ones. And this is what always happens, right? Last year, when we had those banks, remember those banks that failed last year? This is exactly what they did. They called the big investors. They allowed them to pull out. They allowed them to do their moves. And then the smaller ones came for a small bank run, and, they had to wait. So this is what's happening there. And then we have the riots in the UK. Nothing unexpected again, but people think this is sort of an organic development. This is, just happenstance, and now it happened, and now the immigrants are clashing in the streets with the native population over the recent incident where little girls were stabbed. However, none of it is isolated. Iran threatened a few days ago that they were going to unleash something that, the world will notice. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, on national TV, they said, the world is going to witness some massive events. And we are reaching out on a constant basis to our contacts in various fields, whether it's military, whether it's more in the economic or political arena. And here's what everyone is saying, everyone without exception. So this used to be different a few years ago. Now everyone without exception is saying the same thing. Listen, this is going down. This is going down. We don't know what the first big thing will be, whether it will be a massive thing in the Middle East, a massive expansion, whether it will be an expansion of the war into more Central Europe, Poland, and whatnot, whether it will be the big financial crash. Basically, they're saying they're anticipating a black swan any day. However, it's not a black swan anymore if everybody knows it's coming. A black swan event is by nature something unexpected. We should expect everything. We saw the huge, and don't tell me it wasn't a cyber attack, the CrowdStrike thing. The way that they sold this to the public was insulting to our intelligence. But if we only look at the things that are happening in the moment, and if we think that these things are somehow caused by coincidental things, then we would panic. We would lose our shit. This is big picture. What is the big picture? I want to go through this strategically, because with every event, you will be able to contrast and compare and say, okay, we're here. This is what they're doing. And you will be able to pull back and not participate. Listen, in the UK right now, our friends, David Icke and this entire circle of people, they're all seeing what is happening. They've called it a long time ago. However, people are still falling for it. Literally, the elite, wannabe elite actors are literally pushing the buttons to push the people to fight each other more and more and more and more. That's a huge distraction from what's really going on. So let's look at what is really going on here. Okay, so this is way more important. Big picture things. So here we have it. There is this plan unfolding, the new or the one world order. And now 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you said that you were a conspiracy theorist. Now they're openly saying they have a world government summit every year where they're literally saying, here's what we're going to do to bring a one world government, to bring a centralized structure into place. But here are their top 5 goals. The top 5 goals of the current political, financial, big tech, biotech, military tech elite. Okay, so wannabe elite. I'll just call them wannabe elite. Central bank digital currencies. You've heard about it. This is a number one priority for them, to implement digital currencies issued by central banks to enhance payment system, increase financial inclusion, and maintain monetary control. Listen, this is the language that they use. So we used it here, so you know this is what they're planning. The impact would be to modernize the financial system and potentially reduce reliance on traditional banking infrastructure. So let's look at this. What is the current market crash, or in the making? It's in the making. This will be, yes, they can come out, they can try to cut interest rates, they can try to cool it down, but the question is, do they want to? The crash is planned. So we're just looking to see, is this the one, or is it going to draw out a little longer? Are they just getting the bigger investors all their ducks in a row? That's the only question. But the crash is bound to happen, and it must happen because of the way that the financial and the monetary system was set up. There is no way around it. It's a mathematical certainty for those who studied this. This is what you have with a fiat debt-based system, where money only comes into existence through credit, where interest rates eventually reach that exponential point, compound interest. So with a nation that's 35 or more trillion dollars in debt, after a certain time period, the compound interest begins to affect a nation exponentially. So that's when the curve goes high up, steep up, and this is where we're at. And this is where the economy couldn't keep up. Even if it grew at 10%, it probably couldn't keep up anymore with the compound interest problem. This is a literal mathematical certainty that those who constructed these systems planned for. This is how you exploit labor, and this is how you transfer property from the working class to the wannabe elite class. This is a system that does that. They're done with it. Most of the transfers happen. Most of the labor has been extracted. They don't need it any longer. Now they're crashing the system. This is mathematical certainty. So, what they will do is make people so financially worried and continue to push and pull, and inflation and stock markets going down, retirement savings going down, all that stuff, right? That they wanted people in. Now is the time to make people very fearful. And here's my prediction. Here's what will happen at some point. In the EU, the digital central bank euro is a certainty now. They're still talking about having both cash and the digital euro, but that is a certainty now. In America, they are still pretending that they don't want to do that. They're just exploring options, but they don't want to have a central bank digital currency. Bullshit. And here's how they're going to sell it. This is how they will get so many people. I think they will offer a debt jubilee. I think they will offer to forgive people's debt, at least to a large extent. Just imagine. People are going to be struggling. Credit card debt is piling up. They can't pay their mortgages. They can't make their car payments. Inflation is devaluing the dollars that they hold. And then eventually there's going to be a emergency press conference, and the president's going to address the nation. And they're going to tell everyone that they have figured out a way to relieve people from the pain that they're feeling, and that they're going to roll out this new digital currency, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be all encrypted and private, and they might forgive debt. I think that's what they're going to do. I think there's going to be a debt forgiveness program with that, and it's going to, people are literally going to cry. And they're going to just say, thank you, please. This is what I think is going to happen with that. But this is one of their top goals, is a central bank digital currency. Central global governance. Again, I'm speaking from their documents. This is what they're putting out. The objective is to strengthen international cooperation and policy harmonization across nations. It's way more than that, but I'm just putting it very mildly. they're getting rid of nations, right? Nation states. They're supposed to mean nothing anymore. The next step might be coming soon, a North American Union, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. If that step will be taken at all, they just might jump over that step. We'll see. But of course, you have the Asian Pacific Union, and you have the EU, and you have the African Union, and then you have other organizations that keep these unions working even more together. You have NATO, you have the UN, you have the World Economic Forum. Some are government, some are non-government, but basically, these organizations all seek to erase more and more of national sovereignty, more and more of borders, of cultural identity, and all those things. So the impact, that's what they're saying, to address global challenges such as climate change, cybersecurity, and pandemics more effectively, okay? So this is what they're doing. Then social credit systems, that's a top priority too. The objective is to implement systems to assess and score individual behavior based on various criteria, potentially influencing access to services and opportunities. Mark my words, one of the first big social credit platforms that will function as such and that will have all these functionalities that the Chinese platforms have will be X. X will be the everything app where they will have everything. Your financial services, your health services, maybe a portal with your employer, of course, are your social media needs, your shopping needs, your video platform, your news information. It will be everything. So nobody will call it the social credit app, but built into that will be some sort of point system. This is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it in China. Some sort of point system that if you're in the green, you don't even worry about it. You don't even see it. But let's just say you have a very unpopular opinion, or you're doing something, or you called someone the F word or whatever. Well, then it's not going to be the government doing it. X is simply going to say, well, we will restrict you from these services for a little while, or we will restrict you from using the app for a little while. These things always happen in that way. So the impact of a social credit system is to increase societal control and ensure compliance with desired behaviors, though it raises significant privacy and ethical concerns. No shit. So this is one of the top 5 goals that they're having. 2 more. Digital health passports. We talked about it at length. The objective to develop, it's already been done, by the way. That's just what they're saying. Digital credentials to verify health status, such as vaccination records, to facilitate travel and access to services. Do you listen? To facilitate travel and access to services. So this already implies that travel will become an outlawed activity. And here's how you need to understand this. In our system, in this legal system that we live in, almost all activities are against the law. Driving is against the law. Flying is against the law. Swimming in most public waters, that you have access to, is against the law. Building a house is against the law. Yes, you don't believe me? What do you need to do all these things? You need permits, or you need certificates, or you need licenses. So unless you have those, it's against the law to do these things. So that means that most of these things in the legal system are outlawed, and you need to meet certain conditions to be able to do them. Hunting is against the law. People think that it's protected by, well, hunting is not really protected by the Second Amendment anyways. That's just what people think. But no, you need licenses. Unless you have a license, you can't hunt. It's against the law. So fishing, the vast majority of places, is against the law, believe it or not, unless you have a permit. So this is what digital health passports will do. It'll make travel, it will outlaw travel unless you have all the necessary medical procedures done. But not just that, it will outlaw work, it will outlaw gatherings, it will outlaw access to public facilities unless you have. That's their plan. Okay, I'm just saying what they're putting out there. And then the 5th one is 15-minute cities. So this is how they're pushing people into urban areas, all the fires, all the freak weather events, all the droughts, all the whatever they can push on people. It's the objective is to push them into those urban areas where residents can meet most of their needs within a 15-minute walk or bike ride, which of course sounds wonderful. Who wouldn't love that? Unless, of course, you're restricted to that 15-minute area, and you can't leave it unless you have a permit or a pass, which is just look at what Oxford is doing in the UK. They're literally saying you're going to have a number of free passes to access the other parts of the city. Beyond that, you will have to pay a fine if you do. So these are their, I mean, and there's so much more involved in this, right? But these are the top 5 things that they're working on. What strategies are they using? And please stick with us because we're going to get to solutions. Solutions are really what matters here. But I want people to know that if they see a riot in Bangladesh, if they see a riot in the UK, if they see warmongering in the Middle East, if they see financial crashes, if they see a cyber attack, that these things are not random. These are part of a strategy to move societies into exactly these directions. This is problem, reaction, solution. Hegelian dialectic. David Icke has literally, I don't know, explained this in a million books that he wrote. This is their way to do things. We're going to get to how they do it. This is the destabilization process. Okay, and before we even go into it, I'll put this to the side just for one moment. There are plenty of documents out there and books written by whistleblowers or people who've left these programs. Almost every government agency that has some public relation access has programs in place to manipulate the population into certain behaviors and actions. Now, some of these manipulations are quote unquote positive. That doesn't mean good, but they're positive reinforcements. So it could be a simple public relations campaign. It could be ads that they take out, billboards that simply suggest new behaviors, new ways of looking at things. However, these are always only 10-15% of the deal. 80 to 90% of the campaigns are actually negative campaigns, which means they're applying pressure. And if you want to change society in such massive ways as they want right now, you have to create destabilization campaigns. You have to destabilize people, because when they're balanced, when they're in harmony, when they're stable, when they're healthy, when they're in their zen, if you will, then people don't go along with these ludicrous, insane changes that they want. So the top 5 ways to destabilize people, and here's you're going to recognize exactly what's going on. This is taken directly from intelligence manuals, from military manuals, 5th and 6th generational warfare manuals, and looking at the playbook that the government deployed through 2020 and onward. Okay, so a lot of these playbooks came out. So let's look at this. Destabilization. Top 5 strategies. Number 1, economic disruption, because everybody needs money to do everything. So economic disruption is one of the biggest tools. The tactics induce financial crises, hyperinflation, or severe unemployment. The impact, it erodes public trust in economic institutions and leads to widespread unrest. Very, very simple to do. They control the financial system, so they can do this at the push of a button. We've seen this over the last few years. Inflation up, a little down, never really down. It's just masked. And here's the interesting thing about inflation. Most countries do not count essential goods such as gas or foods into their inflation calculations. So they tell you it's 6-7%, and you go, hold on. Food and gas are some of my biggest expenses every month. I go to the store, my money buys me 40-50% less than it used to. So that's real inflation, but that's what they don't tell you. That's just like real unemployment rates, right? They don't tell you, they're lowering. They used to say, if people don't find a job within 3 years, we're going to count them as long-term unemployment and not include them in the unemployment rates that we put out. They lowered that to 6 months now, and then to 3 months. So people that are out of a job for a few months are already counted as long-term unemployment. So the unemployment official rate seems low while the real rate is really, really high. Those are all tactics that they simply use. Another thing, boy, political polarization. Tactics amplify divisions within political groups and encourage extremism. The impact weakens governmental stability and increases conflict between different societal factions. I mean, do I have to say anything? Is there a country in the world that isn't experiencing this? Other than those who are already fully on board with the new way of things. I mean, you probably don't have that at a huge level in China, but you most certainly have it. Bless you, my love. But you most certainly have it in the UK. You most certainly have this on and off in the United States, right? I mean, there's so many ways now that people are divided. You have it all over Central Europe. So this is political polarization. I mean, the last 10 years, but especially the last 4 years, unlike anything we've ever seen in our lifetime. What else? Information warfare. Spread misinformation, fake news, and propaganda. The impact to confuse the public, undermine trust in media and authorities, and exacerbates social divisions. Okay? So this is down to a T what they're doing every single day. A lot of times, among the truth that comes out, there are these false narratives that create so much intensity in a second, and they are deploying social media bots and campaigns where millions and millions of accounts retweet, repost, share narratives that are either completely misleading or outright lies. But by the time, what do they say? By the time the truth ties its shoes, a lie has made it halfway around the world. Social unrest. They foster and escalate protests, strikes, and riots. The impact, it creates a sense of chaos and insecurity, pressuring governments and institutions. This is what we're seeing in the UK now. What do you say when a British prime minister comes out and he says, hey, like, we're going to go so hard. We're going to go so hard after the people who are out there rioting and protesting. We're going to, however, and then create the division among the people by saying, and we're going to protect even more the mosques. What is the signal here? The signal is native population, here you go. Immigrants, here you go. They're not doing it because they love one people over another. He's not saying this because he prefers or that's the right thing to do. No, he's saying this because that's what creates more division. These prime ministers, these puppets are not there to stay. They're not there to stay prominent or to stay popular any longer. They're being now exchanged on a regular basis, just like underwear, every few months now, maybe 6 to 10 months, because nobody can hold that position. Then they put a new puppet in and they just keep repeating, rinse and repeat until these things are irreversible. This is what they're doing. We're going to get to solutions. Okay, cultural and religious conflicts. The tactics are to exploit and inflame cultural, ethnic, and religious tensions. Now, this is the big one, because this is where people get into their feels, in their emotions, in their historic, in their traditions, in their identity. This is the big one. Cultural and religious conflicts is where people get into their identity feeling. It's what they will defend at all costs because that's who they think they are. I am a Muslim, I am a Christian, I'm a LGBTQ, whatever, I'm this, I'm that, right? The impact is it destroys social cohesion and leads to intergroup violence and long-term animosity. This is exactly what they have been doing. This is why, my friends, they have, here we go. This is why you have had complete open borders immigration. Now, they're not saying open borders in Europe, but it doesn't matter. The effect is the same, pushing millions and millions of people with perceived huge cultural differences and backgrounds. They are into nations that have long-standing traditions, long-standing cultures, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, and then pushing millions of people in and making sure that these millions of people are not, what you would do is try to sort of put them all over the place so that they could assimilate easier versus putting them all in the same place, right, together. Because what's that going to do? That's going to create the sort of group mentality. It's going to keep people within their culture, and they're going to stay within their culture, and they're going to only practice their culture. And you can't do that if you go to a foreign country. You can't go there and simply bring everything that you had with you and pretend that that culture, that people there have to assimilate to you. That's bullshit. That's what all these do-gooders all over the place didn't understand when they started wearing burqas and whatnot to be in solidarity. Bullshit. You don't assimilate to the people that come to you. The people that come to you need to assimilate. You don't assimilate to the people that visit your home. You don't change your family. You don't change your family traditions and your entire structure because you have guests in your house. No. If somebody's a good guest, they will assimilate to your rhythms. They will start to fit into, or they're not a good guest and you're probably not going to invite them back. So this is that, but this is all produced. They knew this, and this has happened in history a million times. This is nothing new. It's not like these are new ideas. This is what they've always done. You push a group of people into a nation and the rest takes care of itself, because that's not how it would naturally work. And of course, this is going to, we're going to see some similar things in America that we are observing in the UK, that we've seen in Germany, that we've seen in France, that we've seen in other places. And the solution is most definitely not to go into the streets and fight amongst each other. That's about the dumbest thing we could do. And that's exactly what they want us to do. Okay. So when the most accessible thing, here's how they do it. They create and stir shit up. They create a problem and stir shit up. And then they basically give you one solution on the silver platter. That's the trap. The solution on the silver platter is go out, scream, and loot and fight. And that's what they give people on a silver platter. It's always the same thing. And that's where the people must resist. Now, if you're getting attacked, you can't resist. You have to defend yourself. You have to do what's necessary to neutralize that violence. But we have to understand this is a trap set. And what does it do? It distracts the people from where the real oppressors are, the real problems are. There's a beautiful quote, by the way, by Willie Nelson, and I'm paraphrasing here, is don't hate the refugee, hate the person who made, or hate the people who made them a refugee. He didn't say hate. That's the problem, is what he said. The problem is not the refugees. The problem is the people who made them refugees. Of course, most of these people aren't refugees. But we are experiencing a situation of worldwide system, planned system collapse. And if you go back a year, we said it was coming 2 years, 3 years, and a lot of other people have. It's not because these people are fear mongers. It's not because they it's sensationalism. It's reading documents and studying history and study what happened before. It's not hard to figure out, and it's only going to get more intense because now that's the course that they're on. So if we get fearful, if we get really, really scared, if we start to become really aggressive, if we join in on violent behavior, on vengeful feeling, thinking, and expressions, we give them what they wanted. Especially if we go against each other, left versus right, Christians versus Jews or Muslims, whatever division they can sow, they will sow. That's what they do. That's all that they can do. They don't know another way. So as counterintuitive as this sounds, but the more harmony, the more balance. Balance is such a beautiful thing. Think about everything that's in balance and how good it makes things. The more harmony, the more balance that we can experience in ourselves and bring into our immediate relationships, the better this will play out. The better this will play out. And believe it or not, sometimes we can literally create miracles even with those whom we perceive to be our enemies, because they're not. Your neighbors are not your enemies. It may seem so. The last years might have make it look like it, but they're not. Actually, your enemies, and there are real enemies out there, there's a small group of entities that are not like you and they don't like you. To quote our dear friend Kathy O'Brien, they're not like us and they don't like us. And we can identify them really quick and remove them from the equation really quick if we do what needs to be done and focus. And then there are very practical solutions that I would encourage everyone to think about right now, because this is going to get more intense. Our friends that are positioned all over the world, some are looking into what is happening to the trade routes in the world, what is happening to the food supply chain, and they're sounding the alarm bigly, right? Others are, of course, focusing on the financial markets, same thing. Military situations, same thing. Okay, so there are strategies that you can implement right now, which is the most important thing. And the solution is local, local, local. You have to think about what you can do with what you have where you are. So let's look at that a little bit. Okay, here we go. Independence, things you can do. We talk about this a lot. Grow your own food, raise livestock, harvest rainwater, generate your own energy if you can, or think about how you can minimize your dependency there. Learn basic skills. What are basic skills? Some crafts, some handy stuff that you can actually use when it's not available, that you can trade, right? Maybe sewing is something you want to pick up. I mean, it's always going to be needed, right? Maybe woodsmanship is something that you want to do, and learn how to build chairs and tables. Of course, in the near future, still everything that's going to be technology related to have that skill, that's going to be used. Gardening, those stuff, practical stuff. Preserve food, something anyone can do. Anyone can use some excess food like fruits or even veggies and learn how to preserve them. There's a million books out there and YouTube videos. You can learn that in a few basic steps. You can dehydrate food, which is a dehydrator. I think you can get that for what, $25?
I think so, yeah.
25, $30 a dehydrator. You can dehydrate pretty much everything, from meats to fruits to even veggies. You let it sit somewhere in a room overnight. It takes 8 to 12 hours, or depending on what you put on there, and you retain a good percentage of the nutrients. It's not like fresh. It's not like what's it called? A dry freeze, but it is very, very similar. So dehydration is a great way to do it. And for that, it's much easier to store. You don't need a cool place, a refrigerator. But of course, you can pickle stuff, and many other ways. Then what else do we have on the list here? We will get to that too. Preserve food, use alternative financial systems. Bartering is an alternative system. You can, of course, if that speaks to you, look into cryptos. They can be, as long as the access to the internet's here, and to a certain degree, you can do it without access. If you look into hardware ledgers and stuff like that, but cryptos are definitely something to look into. Gold and silver, precious metals. We've been saying this in small, very small units. So you have small coins, stuff that you can actually use in daily barter and trading. Supporting local economy and building a local community network. Now that is by far the most important thing, because it decreases your dependency on a centralized system exponentially. What does that mean? People think that their grocery store is their local grocery store because it's close to them. Look at where the products are coming from. It makes no sense. Look at where the eggs are coming from in your local grocery store. There's maybe one or two that come from somewhere close, but most travel insane distances. Same with milk, same with produce, same with the meats. It makes no sense whatsoever to buy products, especially fresh products that have traveled hundreds and thousands of miles to get there. How do they need to be treated in order to stay fresh? Listen, thankfully, in the last years, this field has positively exploded. Farmers markets and farmers who come up, who sell directly off the farm, that you can buy boxes from. They even deliver to your house. There's so many beautiful things that have come up. Usually the best place to start is to go to your local farmers market or find one in your vicinity and just talk to the people there. You will be amazed at what's already in place. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. Now, the same people who care about that, care about their food supply being local and fresh and healthy, are usually some of the same people who have other solutions in place, who can help you set your network up, who can help you look into more alternative energy sources, or you can simply help you decrease your dependency on a system that is crashing. And I will say this every single day: this system is coming down. There is no saving it. And why would you want to? It's an insane system to begin with, but the builders of this system are crashing it. So for people who say, why are you doing doom and gloom? That isn't doom and gloom. I want this to come down. This isn't a good system. It has produced sickness, death, violence, abuse. It has produced all of the shit that we have. We have dedicated decades of our lives to help the human family get to this point, exactly where we are. We're my LOE, my level of excitement is actually pretty high. I understand this is not beautiful to look at, and these things are not pretty, but it's actually up to the people whether they participate in the madness or whether they look at better solutions, whether they get all riled up and give them or allow themselves to go into offensive violence, or they say, hold on, this is just what they want me to do. What can I actually focus on that is good, that helps me, my family, and so forth? But our LOE, our level of excitement is definitely high. Just like it was in 2020, I understand this is very controversial to say, but I felt a big level of excitement because I knew the world's about to change. And I knew it was going to be a lot of bad stuff, but there was also going to be a lot of good stuff. And I was right. There was a lot of good stuff. You are probably here. Some of you are only here because of what transpired in 2020 and onward. Some of you can only see these things now because of these worldwide events. And many people are now going through the same level of awakening because they're saying, this is not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence because the same people that predicted 2020 have predicted this. How did they know? How do we know? Do you think we're prophets or seers? No. These are things that you can study down to a T. They're all planned out. But what do they require to work? What do they require to make this work? Us and our participation. So you can either hope, pray, whatever you do, that this will go for another year, that everything will be okay, we'll just coast through this and it won't affect me, or you can face the storm prepare properly, change your lifestyle, do what you can with what you have where you are. And most importantly, face those fears that are still there head on, heal them, give thanks that they were there because they showed you something. Give thanks to your fears because they showed you something. And then release them, transmute them, turn them into inspiring, actionable energy. We need millions of people who are at least striving for self-sufficiency right now, who are putting things in motion to be more independent, who are connecting in communities in doing that. This is what we need. And you will see that in the next months and years, there will be places that will feel like hell because nobody wanted to listen, because they're NPCs, because they lack the ability to comprehend and think for themselves. And that's going to be that. And then there are going to be places that are turning out to be more like paradise. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to meet communities that go, oh yeah, we know the world's in shambles. We know shit's going down, but we are a tight-knit community. We talk to each other. We help each other. We support each other. Jack over there and Jane over there, they're really doing great on herbs. And these people over here, they're raising chickens and they're raising livestock, and these are happy cows and these are happy chickens. And we have community gardens. We have our own gardens in the backyard. We share, we talk. And guess what? We're usually excluded from all these horror scenarios because we kind of keep a really high level of consciousness here. It almost feels like we're protected. It almost feels like a lot of these things can't touch us because we're in a balanced, in a positive, in an uplifted state of being. That is the solution. So one of the big things that matter now more than ever is that we look for what unites us, what makes us much more alike than different. And I've actually looked into I was curious, so I looked at research that was done in places like Iran and Israel and Russia and Ukraine and Germany and Italy and New Zealand and the United States, and I looked at all these nations and I looked at what the top priorities of the people are in their lives. And you guess what? There's about an 80 to 90% overlap between the Iranians and the Americans and the Israelis and the Germans and the Italians and the New Zealanders and the Kiwis. Yes, guess what? Most people have the same priorities no matter where they live. They want, one of their top priorities is family, is health, is patriotism in many places is still a top priority. Some have faith and religion still in there in that list. And of course, sort of good economics, right? Because that helps all the others. So it's interesting that we're actually so much more alike than we're different. And that's what these psychopaths know. So they try to find areas where we might disagree, to try to find areas where they can manipulate and psyop and mind control people. And we have to be better than that. We have to see this for what it is. Know thy enemy. Know your enemy's strategies. Know their strengths. Know what they will do. And you will be fine. You will be fine. That's literally how it is. And I would like to invite you to dedicate maybe 5 minutes each day to a breathwork exercise, whatever it is. Go over to Wim Hof or anyone else whom you trust with breathwork and dedicate it to peace, harmony, and positive expansion. Okay, so this is what you dedicate those 5 minutes of breathwork to. You dedicate it to expanding more harmony in your life, more peace in your life, and positive expansions. What I mean by that is everything that you want to pull into your life or create more of or change, you dedicate that breath work to it. So you breathe energy into it. You breathe creativity into it. You breathe inspiration into it. And if you do that 5 minutes a day, you will begin to see shifts. And then you have to act upon that, right? Our positive action in the direction of where we want to go changes so much. And this is literally as simple as it is. As simple as it is. I can see the solution. I can see it clearly. But we have to implement it. And for that, we need to understand the problem that we're facing, not misinterpret it, not what we hope it is, but see it for what it really is. And then withdraw our energy from the reaction that they want us to have. Problem, reaction, solution. You take out the reaction, it doesn't work. The more often that we take out our reaction, the harder it will be for them to produce new problems, because people are onto them. People are onto them. They can see it. And these psychopaths are cornered rats. They're cornered. They're scared now. Nothing is really working as well. Some things play out pretty well, but for the most part, there is a significant group within the population that does not react at all. That doesn't give them the time of the day in terms of emotional investment. Now that is powerful. We won't give them an ounce of fear, my friends, not an ounce. And that's all that they thrive on. If they can make us fearful, they have us. If we remain courageous, balanced, uplifted, high spirits, they have zero chance, zero chance, zero chance. All righty. I want to thank you all for coming over to our locals community. As I can't even tell you what has happened there in the last 6 months. Like empowerment, expansion, people are sharing, connecting. The comments are just so beautiful. I can't even tell you, and I'm extremely grateful, because there I don't have to ever bite my tongue because it's completely uncensored. But more than that, it feels even more like family, like it feels more intimate, because there are no trolls, there are no bots, there is no cabal influence in there. It's really just real human spirit having a beautiful interaction, and that's wonderful. So I want to invite you for that. And we also put in the description of this video, we put a list. Christine, a while ago, she sat probably for days, and she put together a list of products and maybe essentials that you might need, especially through a time like this. Now, because it was the easiest to organize, this is a list on Amazon, but that doesn't mean you have to shop there. We're just saying that's where it's organized. And she did an incredible job, and it's all in the description. And yeah, we'd love to see you on Locals, inspired.locals.com. We keep the subscription super low, 19 cents a day, to keep the trolls away, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this with your friends and family. I think there's a lot of valuable, actionable information in here. And the more people that we can get on board, the better. All right. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon. Are you looking for like-minded and like-hearted people to connect with? Then the Inspired community on Locals is the right place for you. You can post, comment, share, and connect with others, and our shows there are completely uncensored and unfiltered. It's stuff we can't talk about here. It's such a great community, and there are zero trolls. We keep the subscription fees super low, so 19 cents per day. Keep the trolls away. Join us today at inspired.locals.com. We can't wait to see you there.